Friday is gonna be a stacked behind day. Whether it's Summer Game Fest that you're looking for or early in the morning for the 5.7 live stream, you're gonna have a good time. We're gonna see a lot of good reveals. Heck, before even that, tomorrow's literally the state of play, which granted state of plays don't really show us anything, but still, game announcements, we here for that. I believe Xbox is also gonna have a fair amount of things, hopefully to show at their live stream, whatever the heck that's gonna be. Then the Switch 2 comes out this week, which who is trying to get that because you're taking away my physical games. Go F off, I'm not here for it. But Deltarune also drops literally tomorrow, I think. So that's also a fair time. But when it comes down to it though, I really want to focus on Genshin because of course I do. And at the very same time, this is the patch. This is the live stream I have been waiting for. This is what I've been wanting for a good amount of time because I know Skulky Cuck is gonna come through, and you best believe I got 80 points in the bank for fake crystals, and I'm about to shove them all into the atmosphere to bring home my crystal queen. That's how it is, child. Move your bitch ass away. I'm taking Skirk to the bedroom and we're gonna clap. Let me calm down. But the point is though, I'm extremely excited, right? Almost excited as the collab video that I have trying to add up in the background of things, because that collaboration is kind of, at least on my side of editing, it's a bit hell. I'm not gonna lie, but I'm getting there. It's almost done. I'll drop like a few teasing images of, what it's going to be. Nothing crazy, just a little bit of a tease, but still, it's gonna be a nice time when you go see that. So again, if you follow me on Twitter, you might see something really nice when it comes down to at least what it could be about. So hopefully you'll enjoy when that time comes. Hopefully it'll be sometime this week. But when it comes down to it though, let's talk about the story of what's going to be happening here. Because yes, I can sit here and talk about the artifact loadouts, which about damn time. Also, I'm not gonna lie, I kind of don't really care. Funny enough, people have always been asking, I need an artifact loadout because I keep stealing artifacts from like another character, and I'm just sitting here just like, I don't care. I don't really care here. I believe Spiral Abyss is gonna have a retry button within the chambers. I'm like, that right there, if that is true, that is what I'm looking for more than some damn artifact loadouts. Because I ain't gonna sit here and lie. There has been multiple times where I should have won the final one on the 11th floor, and then I got cucked out of my star because I didn't beat them fast enough. Don't cuck me out of my star game. Give me my shit. That is how I feel. That is way more worth it than a damn artifact loadout. So that's just me. But regardless of that, story-wise, the graphic of what we have that is going to be hyped up for the live stream on Friday, it's just going to be great. It's going to be a good time. Lord, let me see Friday, please. But when it comes down to it though, there's a lot of stuff in this picture that honestly I have called out, or at least I predicted, at least to myself, or if in the video form you might have heard me say. But there's some stuff here. Like for example, Dane is here, which we kind of already knew because it's, his patch. But still, Dane is here, and I ain't gonna lie, this could be because, of what Capitano has done, releasing all the Conran souls, which would be a valid excuse to be here. But also at the very same time, this could just be Abyss. Just them existing here. Which, if that's the case, where the hell have you been? Why the hell have you been to Natland if the Abyss was this damn rampant here? You will be in heaven right now, fighting all these Abyss people, killing the shit out of them, because this is all you wanted to do. This is all that you have done when it comes down to it. Yet you haven't been to Natland? Well, granted, we don't know, but you haven't been here yet or mentioned it yet? That's a bit wild, sir. That is honestly a bit wild. Also, I've seen people talk about how this man really just said, yo, I'm gonna go ahead and skip Fontaine and just go to Natland. Which granted, makes sense, because the Abyss wasn't really like there at all too much. There wasn't really any necessary reason for him to be there. It was more, I guess like for the people there, and that's kind of what Fontaine is. Fontaine was more character driven, where Natland is more overall story driven, right? Like two things can be true at the same time of being good, because people oftentimes be like, yo, Natland was a bit of a flop. It really wasn't. It was just more overall story driven of the whole world more than it was about characters, and that's what people kind of, I guess, find a reason to call it Flopland for whatever reason, even though it really wasn't a flop. Nor will this next patch of where we got to go to next will also be not a flop or filler. But anyway, the whole patch, I assume, is going to take place in that land, which gives us a pretty good idea as to maybe, I don't know, the Gnosis situation, which I assume, and I did say that, you know, maybe this is the time where Mawika will lose her Gnosis, because obviously, you know, the Fatui has to get all the Gnosis at this point. It'll be weird if they don't get all of them and we only get just the, you know, the one, right? And granted, there could be a scenario where, oh, maybe we just keep the Gnosis too. I doubt it, but maybe we keep the Gnosis too because the Fatui already knows, well, they gotta come over to the 7 Nation anyway, and, you know, they're just gonna bring it over for us, and maybe we'll lose it along the way, but I think they'll just go ahead and take it here, be much simpler. Plus, remember what Skirk said, talking about the whole Gnosis being, you know, basically items of disaster or some shit like that, so it's probably best to get rid of them. It makes more sense to kind of have that to be the case, right? So maybe that will be what it needs to be. So, you know, either way, regardless, the Gnosis has to get off of Mawika, and I'm assuming this will be the time period for it, because I highly doubt, you know, this is anything related to like the marriage of Ari, or we're gonna go there at all this patch, because, you know, I feel like the main thing we should be focusing on is genuinely just the Skirk situation and story stuff, and not exploring another place. That should be next patch, and then, you know, that could take over the summer patch, hopefully, if, you know, they do the right thing. So that's what I assume that's what they're going to try to do. Next up is Lamine in the Sky, and I kind of wish Hoyoverse just did like alt versions of these pictures, just so people that do pick the opposite version of this story will kind of just have that and let it play out the way they want it to. That will be nice. It's a $1 billion company. Surely you could have done an alternate version of this image just so other players don't feel left out on it. But when it comes down to it though, obviously we see Lamine here as the, you know, stand-in traveler and whatever, and essentially is in the sky. And also there's a few things that we can point out here. One, her feather in the back of her hair is a bit darker than usual, so maybe this could be just her getting, you know, ready to amp up her abyssal nature as the princess, and, you know, kind of going ahead and just doing some nonsense stuff. You know, it could very much be that type of timing for her. She's about to cross that path that Dainsleif warned us about, saying that, yo, it might not be too late for you to, you know, not body a whole ass, you know, traveler or sibling or whatever. You know, it might not be too late, but if she crossed that point, it might be time to, you know, it might absolutely be time to, right? Because ultimately, I assume that the traveler will turn into, you know, a full-blown abyssal person at the end of this, our sibling will, because, I mean, if you paid attention to the whole first trailer of Genshin ever, where we go look through the 7 Nations and see what the hell happens, Dane did just say at the end, like, yo, beat my ass, and then prove to me that you can save your sibling and all that sort of stuff. So, you know, I assume this is just gonna get worse from here. I assume that this patch is gonna show, yeah, the sibling is far gone, and something is going to happen where BS is gonna just basically take over the sibling's mind, and it's not gonna be a good time for anybody, right? So I assume that's gonna be the start. Also, the fact that the image shows, you know, the traveler, or at least the sibling, is, you know, kind of in the sky, and it looked like they're ripping through the sky. Does this mean that Natlan's sky is gonna get more effed up than it already is? Look, at this point, anything can go. We see Mawika punch the shit out the sky, revealing some broken ass moon fragments or whatever the hell, and now you're telling me that Lamine is probably going to use some abyssal nonsense to rip up the sky once again? I don't know. I do feel like we're at a point where the fake sky is starting to come into play. I wouldn't even be mad if that is the case, right? I wouldn't be mad. And to keep it very much a say, it's either gonna happen here where some sky nonsense happens, or Nacry is gonna be the place where some sky nonsense happens. Because this sky that we've been looking at for, you know, 5 whole years in the game, it can't just keep looking like this all across the back, you know, without any problems. I do feel like at some point the entirety of Teyvat is gonna have to get, you know, the sky ripped a whole new asshole or something like that, and then everybody gets to see what actually Teyvat is surrounded by in some shape or form. I don't know if we're gonna get the full effect of that. I don't know if it's gonna just, you know, be in one area of the world if they decide to do it for this patch or whatever. Who the hell knows? There's just no way you have all these factions though to come through and then the sky just does literally nothing. I'd feel pretty mad if we don't get a playable version of Genshin where the sky is completely effed the hell up. I feel like that's just something they're gonna have to do at some point. What my real deal hope is when it comes to the sky is, if it does happen this patch or something happens to it this patch, is that you get to see like maybe a rip, like someone's ripping through paper, how they have like claws and whatever. I kind of hope the sky kind of has the same effect over Natlan, where it just rip to all hell, and then you just get to see through those tears what the sky actually look like, and it kind of freaks people out. Honestly, I'm hoping that that's genuinely what happened, so people in Teyvat itself be like, hey yo, what the F is this? And look at the sky, be like, what the hell is that? I ain't never seen some shit like this. What the hell is this, boy? And just be completely questioning life right now. Completely questioning, yo, there are archons. Yo, what's popping up here? What is this? Did you know about this? You're a god. Aren't you supposed to know what this is? And all that sort of stuff. Like, I'm pretty sure, as, you know, scary of an event as that would be, I'm pretty sure some archons will have a pretty hard ass time. Malwika might not have a hard time. I feel like she'll be able to handle that situation, even if it's a bad situation, still pretty decently. But everybody else, like, you know, I guess like, you know, like Vinci and everybody else, I guess they would suffer a bit. We do know though, we do know that people are preparing for something too, right? Because remember the whole Arataki Ito quest event thing with the music and whatever, and had Paimon and Ito, I guess like singing at the end of the quest or whatever. He did have Shogun to pop up and did, you know, kind of be like, you know what, there is something coming and I'm gonna have to protect my nation just in case some bullshit tries to roll up through. So, you know, they're preparing for something. And plus, if you really haven't noticed, I feel like a lot of these little military events with these mini games that we've been doing across the 7 nations, and or at least the 6 nations so far, and how they kind of prepping themselves up for like new combat strategies, like the last one we had with like the, you know, the, I guess like summoning monsters into damage, you know, certain like items or stuff like that, while also defeating the enemies and whatever. Literally the recent event that we had, they've been doing this shit across the 7 nations for a fair amount of time, or at least the 6 nations that we've been to for a fair amount of time. You don't have military characters or military people from different nations come through, do mini games or whatever, and just have that to be nothing. Like, they're preparing for something. I feel like each nation is very much preparing for something. We just don't know exactly to full extent what that whole damn thing is gonna be. That's really the main thing I would probably say out of all this too, right? So that's just kind of how my speculation kind of is. There is one last thing I guess we could talk about, and granted we don't really have full idea as to where this is going to go, but that's Skirk herself. How in the hell is Skirk gonna be involved in all this? I got no clue. I assume Child is gonna pop up somewhere near here too, considering that I believe Child's Japanese VA is gonna be at the live stream, so I assume Child is involved somewhere in all this. But still, what the hell is Skirk's whole play in this? I got no clue, because from what we know, she also doesn't really care for the surface world too much, and don't really care to speak with anybody that isn't on her level outside of Traveler, because Traveler is basically on her level in a way. So I don't know, I really couldn't tell you. And then obviously with Dane, you know, feeling the way he does about, you know, the 5 sinners, and Skirk also being under the 5 sinners and being saved by one of them and all that sort of stuff, it's gonna come through to a point where these two are gonna probably beat ass, right? They're probably gonna beat ass in some way. And I wouldn't even be surprised if Skirk beats Dane's ass I feel like that would very much be the case. I really don't see Dane winning this unless he has a ultra trick up his sleeve that we just don't know about or something like that, right? So who knows? Skirk is somehow going to be playable. Again, I'm very happy for that. But also, again, like I said before, she's also going to be a character that is for sure going to be, you know, important to the plot. Hell, probably the most important character that we have received so far. Maybe next to Colomina, whenever the hell they decide to, you know, drop information for her. But still, that's just kind of what it is.